welcome to the Multicultural AFL Footy Show, our last show of the year. Last Friday night saw the Richmond Tigers run through the Geelong Cats in the preliminary final, beating them by 19 points. The GWS, for the second time in 2 weeks, escaped being knocked out of the finals race by less than a goal, beating the Collingwood Magpies by just 4 points. More of the reviews in just a moment. Tonight, we also interview the National Ethnic and Multicultural Broadcasters Council, the NEMBC's Executive Officer, Russell Anderson, later in our program. I am Vanessa Katika, and I'm joined by my two co-panelists, Javier Sincan and Gabriel De Angelo. Hello, guys.
Hello, Vanessa.
Vanessa, Javier.
On Friday night, Geelong actually played a better first half to lead Richmond into the break. While many punters had the Cats in a beatable position, the Richmond players and fans had other thoughts. The Richmond Tigers turned the game around in the third quarter, with Dustin Martin and Shane Edwards picking up their form to win by 19 points. What are your thoughts on the game, Javier?
Well, I believe they say dreams get made and shattered in the finals, and that's exactly what happened. On one side, we had two captains from Gold Coast, both wanted to win.
That's true.
Yeah, and then Tom Lynch, like the way he came up, I think the last time he was in grand final, that was in 2010 when he was backing for Collingwood. So he doesn't have any sort of memories of grand final playing or anything like that. So this year, he's got his dream come true. But on the other hand, look at the dreams got shattered for Patrick Dangerfield. He can't win the grand final. Gary Ablett, probably this was his year.
His last chance, probably.
Yeah, probably that as well. So to me, it was like a dream-ending story. But the way actual game was prepared, I was totally surprised because Geelong had the problem of starting the game. So they did very well in the first quarter, so they were leading. So they were playing good third and fourth quarter. So what I was expecting that in the end, they've got the game in the hand. But Richmond, like the way they're playing at the moment, it is just that Hardwick has given them the license to enjoy, not to play, just to enjoy. And they believe in the system, so they came back, and the way they did, that was just fantastic.
Yeah, I think we said last week that Geelong's main problem is that they rely too much on the individual, whereas Richmond play more as a unit, play more as a team, and we saw that. They do seem a little bit too reliant on that one like spark of genius from Dangerfield or Ablett or Selwood, and even though he wouldn't have won the game on his own, but having Tom Hawkins not being there up front was definitely a major absence, and he's got a lot of responsibility. He was, let's be blunt, was really stupid to go out the way he did, because there was no need for him to hit his West Coast opponent and miss out on such an important game. So there's that sort of stuff as well, but also a lot of talking points against the tactics of Geelong during the week from Scott, from his game where they lost the first game, where they were saying that there were so many tactical errors, and this time around you sort of have to think, well, maybe he made the same mistakes where he had the best midfielder pushed up forward and his best defender, Blitzarfs, pushed to the wing, which allowed Lynch to be on his own and score like 5 goals. So there's a lot of errors in that part as well. So Geelong, they've got a lot of questions to ask themselves coming in, especially on a tactical point of view.
The other preliminary final was played at the MCG on a rainy Saturday afternoon. GWS dominated that game for 3 quarters. Collingwood couldn't do a thing right and found themselves down by 33 points 5 minutes into the last quarter. Then the turnaround, Collingwood went berserk and monstered the Giants, getting within 4 points only to be beaten by the Siren, and to lesser degree by umpires letting the game go as the GWS Giants repeatedly jumped on the ball, causing a ball up after a ball up, when they should have been penalized for holding the ball. The reluctance of the umpires not to blow their whistle for a free kick late in finals games is quite concerning. Where is the consistency? How did you see the game, Gabriel?
Well, firstly, I'm just going to give myself a pat on the back for the prediction I did at the beginning of the very first episode. I said that GWS are going to play in the grand final.
I know it was coming.
Yeah. I have to do it. It's the only award I'm going to win this. So, but like you said, there was a lot of inconsistencies, but also at the same time, we did say last week how GWS's defence were just so solid against Brisbane. Like the big men at the back and Phil Davis, his leadership, Heath Shaw, just his experience, the way they sort of handle the pressure, the relentless pressure of the other team attacking, and they just seem to be calm. They don't get into a panic, and this is a really good thing in terms of like the defensive structure of GWS, because we all know Richmond have a fantastic attack. So we'll see how we go, like how they will go in the grand final, but we'll talk about that in greater detail. But it was a fantastic win from GWS, and players like Green, Whitfield, Coniglio, Delidio, Ward, they were all out. Phil Davis, their captain, was pretty much completely injured the entire time. So it was an amazing feat for GWS. Yes, there were some inconsistencies. I mean, there was the goal that was given where it was clearly touched, which went to Collingwood's favour. So, there was a lot wrong in that game, but you have to give credit to GWS for winning that game.
Well, I agree with you that we have to give them credit because the way they've come up this time, it's like they're hungry for win as well. And then with all that episode around Toby Green and whatever happened, that even Christian, he's from Collingwood, and Shane Wakeling, he's from Collingwood, who was on the panel, and all that controversy around it. And it seemed like the way it was that everything was favoured for Collingwood at that stage. For GWS to come there and add that MCG to it, MCG factor.
Finally win.
Yeah, they finally win. So it was too hard for them, but all credit to the game plan, all credit to the players who sort of kept in there. Look, if it was umpire's fault, they can't do much about it. Free kicks could have been awarded. There were a few other things. And now I'm feeling sad for Adam Treloar at the moment. If GWS wins this year, he would probably think, why did he move aside?
And Shield when he went to Essendon.
He went there. So it's really good that they're hungry and they're coming in. Although I still don't agree with Toby Green, but the rest all the players, they played fantastic and they totally deserve to win.
Thank you, boys. Coming up on the other side of the break, our interview with the executive officer of the NEMBC, Russell Anderson, and the Brownlow Medal wrap-up. You're watching the Multicultural AFL Footy Show. Welcome back. Tonight we have Russell Anderson, Executive Officer of the National Ethnic and Multicultural Broadcasters Council, the NEMBC. As we all know, the NEMBC media is what drives this show and others. Welcome to the show, Russell.
Thank you.
Russell, can you please tell us what is the NEMBC and the role it plays within our national multicultural media?
Well, the NEMBC is the national peak body that supports multicultural community broadcasting right around Australia. Some people confuse us with SBS, but we're actually bigger than SBS. We broadcast across 110 radio stations in almost the same 100 languages, right across the country. So there's 4,000 volunteers putting together 2,000 hours of programming every week. It's quite enormous. It's immense, really, when you think of it. And the NEMBC pulls that sort of thing together, and if you look at it in its entirety, it's the biggest media language laboratory in Australia. It's been really important over the years for migrant communities, those established communities, to have that voice, and also looking after new emerging communities to give them voice and to connect to their community. We're also working much more professionally at the moment, and we're trying to look at employment pathways so that we can start to influence mainstream media as well, and that we can hopefully in the future start to change the landscape so that there's a lot more diversity in mainstream media, so that starts to reflect our multicultural society.
Mm-hmm. And how did this multicultural football show idea develop?
Well, it was interesting. It started as a radio program about 2 years ago, and after doing the radio, we approached Channel 31 and said, how about doing a TV show? And then here we are. And what people see on this particular television program, it's much bigger than this, because not only does the TV program go to Geelong and here in Victoria 3 times, and Adelaide and Foxtel Aurora, but it's remixed for radio and then packaged with 7 different language programs, and then it's sent out to 20 different community radio stations. It's also on the community radio satellite network, which reaches millions of listeners as well. So it's quite vast and enormous what happens. We've also got 20 journalists working on the whole project put together, And there's live call games as well at the MCG, and that's in 7 different languages throughout the season. And last year we had a first. It was a live call game at the MCG of Dinka. That's South Sudanese language. We also do live calls in Arabic, in Hindi, in Mandarin, Spanish, Italian, Greek. So all those live calls happen, and we actually broadcast that nationally for the first time last year, so hopefully there'll be national live calls as well next year.
Where to now for the Multicultural AFL show? Are there other productions and pilots coming up in the next few years?
Well, the most important thing is to keep this program going. So we've been working really hard to try to get 3-year funding, and hopefully the Community Broadcasting Foundation will be a main partner in that funding, and of course with the AFL. So if we can really secure 3-year funding, that'd be great. We can really plan and work on a whole range of things of the AFL to broaden our audience and strengthen what we already do is quite well, but we can strengthen a lot more. We really need to be looking at the AFLW, the Women's League, next year, because we've been talking about that for a while. We need funding to continue the A-League, all about the A-League soccer program. That's really important. And we've also applied for funding for a basketball show, an all-African panel basketball show for next year. So we might get that funding for next year and be working on basketball. But we've also created we're also looking at cricket. And so we've also created a model which can work for lots of different things, for arts, for fashion. So we hopefully do an arts pilot at the end of this year or next year as well. And it's really this AFL program that has given us this opportunity. It's created this model so that hopefully the AMC media can start to really make a difference in creating more diversity in what we do in sport, arts, fashion and programming.
Yeah. Do you have any message for and the sponsors out there, other community radio stations out there to come and join the NMBC media? They want to come on the ground floor with us. Do you have any message for them?
Well, yeah, it's really good opportunity for sponsors to get involved now. We're in a way we're starting. We've been going for a while, but we're really with 3-year funding. It's a really good opportunity to get on board now. Sponsors need to realise that they can get into a niche market. Because ethnic community broadcasters actually they don't speak to the mainstream, they speak to particular communities, to their own community, and they get right into their community. A lot of the people that are on radios are mini celebrities, and they talk to their community, they're well known in their community. So it's a really good opportunity to actually create, to get to places where you can't go with mainstream media through sponsors. And hopefully we can have more television and more radio stations and programs picking up what we do as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Russell. But before you go, can you give us to our viewers and listeners the winner of the Saturday Grand Final?
Well, it's a hard one to pick. I'm not really much of an AFL follower, to tell you the truth. I love the model, I love what we do, but it's a hard one to pick for me. But I think as an organisation, we accept diversity and we're accepting of that diversity, and I think it's really important. For my personal opinion, I think the focus on the game is really important. and I think GWS has been, they came out with being aggressive, and I think they're really actually sort of taken their eye off the actual game and then the ball, and they're playing the player. And I think, that's the saying, isn't it? Play the ball, not the player. And so I think it's been too aggressive.
Yes.
So for me personally, I'm going to go for the Tigers, but I wish both teams all the best and may the best team win. But yeah, that's my personal opinion. I think it's just been a bit too aggressive.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Russell, for your insights and the exciting developments coming our way from NEMBC Media. As everyone in the AFL footy world knows, Monday night was the Brownlow Medal camp for the AFL's first and best player on the year. We congratulate Nat Fyfe for a well-deserved win. In the Brownlow, he has been the driving force behind the Fremantle Dockers. So, Javier, what impressed you the most through the year with him?
Well, I think with Nat Fyfe, it is a bit surprising for me because he's done that in the few games than the other competitors like Dangerfield or others. And he's done, whichever game he plays, he influences that game so well. And he is like the best arrow in in a coach's armor at the moment. So he can switch around with the game. And he understands his ruckman, he understands the game, he understands his team, and then he leads from the front too. Because he's been there for that long, he knows every player and their capabilities. I think that comes at a huge advantage to Nat Fyfe. So he can go forward and then show his miracle over there if he says that, okay, and the team is lacking over there. And he's got that footy mind as well. And the way he disposes of his his disposals with that much of efficiency. I think that's another factor too, to do and that under that much of a pressure, especially Fremantle's been under pressure for the whole year. Their coach has been under pressure whole year, and look at what we've come up with under that sort of pressure and playing less games than the other players. He came up with the Brownlow win. Like, it's marvellous.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, Fremantle have had a pretty bad season, on and off the field. I mean, it was extremely bad under their summation, and they've lost their coach, and all sorts of things just went wrong for Fremantle. They didn't make the finals, they didn't do much. But for Nat Fyfe to sort of show his class and his ability and how good of a footy player that he is, that he's able to stand out from what was essentially a really like a nightmare of a season for Fremantle, shows what a good player he is. And I have to be honest, I wasn't really expecting him to win the Brownlow Medal, so congratulations to him. Well deserved, and it is, like I said, a real testament to how good of a player and how good of a leader he is, that after all that was going on behind the scenes and on the field as well, that he's able just to step out and just prove to everyone how good of a footy player he is. I mean, there's no wonder why so many clubs here in Victoria want him to come and play over here.
Welcome back. This is the big one, boys. The Richmond Tigers up against the GWS Giants from the MCG on Saturday afternoon. The Tigers came from nowhere in the third quarter last week to overwhelm the Cats, and I don't think the game against the GWS will be as easy, especially if the forecast of rain is correct. The Giants won their last two finals by less than a goal and are fast gaining the reputation of a tough defensive team. That might just put them over the line this Saturday again.
Well, I believe so, but it's good for GWS. They've had a very close games, but Richmond had sort of like similar come from behind win as well. So both the teams are well prepared. But there's they're probably two contrasting teams for me at the moment. Richmond on one side, they've got like a system set up, and all the players are like cool, calm, and collected. Even if you listen to the interviews afterwards or before, it's like they just want to go there and have fun, as I told before, that Hardwick has given them the license. So they know their job, and they're just out there to have fun, and they believe in themselves. They overcome that whatever happened last year or so. So they've got Tom Lynch, who's hungry more than anyone. So they are very good side at the moment, just of that factor. But if we come to GWS, look, they're doing an amazing job this year, and this looks like to me that it's going to be their year. The way they are putting the pressure on the other team, and I've got this funny feeling, not just like up the forward or side, like as you mentioned, defensive team. I think their midfield and everyone, the way they shut down Bulldogs and Brisbane Lions, and now we saw the other game as well. I think they'll be able to shut down their players, and it's going to be a heck of a grand final. I'm just looking forward to it, and I believe I'm going to give it to GWS this game. It's going to be a very close one for the maybe about 5 points difference or 10 points. That's it.
Yeah, I have to say that during this whole final series, I've been really impressed by GWS's defence. Like really impressed. I can't speak about it highly enough, but they're just so calm. They're just so controlled. It's like every time you see them, like especially in those last 4 minutes against Collingwood, where they've just been pounded with attack after attack, they didn't lose their shape. They didn't lose their composure. They knew exactly what to do, and there was always a way out. So every time someone had the ball, there was always an option. Whereas you see other teams, they're in defensive mode, and when they're being attacked, and they don't know what to do. And it's going to be really interesting to see if, like matchups like Phil Davis on Lynch or Riewoldt and Heath Shaw, who he's going to be matching up against, whether it be Riewoldt or not. It's going to be really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing the battle at the back as well. So you've got Jeremy Cameron, who's in really good form, scored those fantastic goals. He's been doing really well. It's almost like he's been relishing the chance, like this is his moment and he knows it type sort of thing. And Bashir Hooley, I want to see how he goes, and I hope, just for his sake, that he does really well, because 2017 he was robbed of the Norm Smith medal. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. He was robbed. But I would like to see more than anything the little men, how Prestia is going to shape things for Richmond and how Toby Green is going to shape things for GWS. I think the little guys are the ones that are going to win this game for either team. I really don't know. I've got a funny feeling GWS might win, but on the other hand, Richmond, they've just been an absolute juggernaut. They've well and truly deserved a place in the grand final, and so have GWS. But just to be contrarian to you, I'll say Richmond, but I have a feeling that GWS could win, but I'll say Richmond by about 15 points.
Okay, but there's one thing I want to bet my house on. Toby Green's going to do the same thing again. And he will have his script ready
and
again.
he's allowed to. But he's allowed to. It's the grand final. He can hit, he can kick, he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter because there's no game the week after. So if he wants to injure anyone, go right ahead. If I was the coach, I'll say to Toby Green, injure their best player. Go ahead.
Really?
Yeah, why not? It's the grand final. You're there to win it. It's the last game of the year. You're there to win the grand
But
final.
it's not correct. Don't do that.
No, but but yeah. I mean, but like, you know what I mean?
We're talking about Toby Green here. So
Yeah. He'll do it anyway. He doesn't
Please,
need
Toby, don't do
encouragement.
that again.
He doesn't need encouragement from me. But like if I was the coach, it's the grand final, and I know Toby Green is a nutcase. I'll say go right ahead. That guy over there, whoever you want, go right ahead and hit him. Just get them out of the ground. That way, we've got a better chance of winning. It's the grand final. You have to do these sorts of things.
Guys, what do you think of the send-off rule in the grand final?
Well, I can think positive of send-off rule that it could be implemented, but I believe how we're gonna implement it on the ground, because we're seeing a lot of inaccuracies from the on-field umpires this season, and the arc, which is meant to be there, with so many eyes, with so many angles, and even they can't get it right. So how are we gonna implement that send-off rule? That's gonna be a big concern for me. And if again we're gonna send someone on a wrong decisions, might as well keep it off and let the game play as we do in the grand finals.
Yes, I agree. I can see why some people probably would want an offside rule because of what I just said earlier, because it's a grand final and you might as well just go out and hit the opposition's best player. But obviously, it sort of goes against the game, so to speak. It's been like this for a long, long time. Just leave it as it is. And I don't think it's going to be a deterrent either way. But you're right in saying that, with the whole arc and all that sort of stuff, they get things wrong all the time. So I think they should just leave it as it is.
And the North Smith medal?
Well, you want to say that first? To me, it's going to be too many contenders. I think with the grand final, it's too many contenders at the moment. But I believe that whoever is in the midfield has more chances. But Revolt, I think the way he performed in the last game, I think he'll be inching to go back and then going for some goals. And I'm pretty sure that might happen because they're going to shut down Lynch. That's for sure. They're going to have a massive plan to shut him down. So Revolt might pop up and with some more goals. But as you mentioned before, Dion Prestia, others, they might take that opportunity to score some goals as well and then be the Norm Smith medalists. But I've just got this feeling that Nick Revolt's going to have a big game.
Yeah, Nick Revolt. When it comes out of retirement, Jack Revolt.
Jack Revolt, sorry.
No, but I agree with what you said about Jack Revolt, how last week he didn't have a very good game by his standards, and so maybe the grand final's the game where he'll score like 10 goals or whatever. And you're right, that there is a lot of players on both sides that could quite easily win the Norm Smith medal. I think that this could be one of those games where defence is going to be sort of like the linchpin of the game. Whoever's got the best defence could win. I can sort of see like how Brian Lake won the Norm Smith for Hawthorn a few years ago, how he was a defender and he won. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can see possibly Phil Davis or even hopefully Bashir Hooley winning it. Prestia, he's got a very good chance because, he's a midfield dynamo. Maybe even Toby Green could win one. Who knows? Imagine if he wins. All in all, whoever wins the Norm Smith medal, I just hope it's someone who actually deserves it. I hope whoever wins the Norm Smith medal, regardless of the side or position or whatever, that they actually did deserve it, that they were clearly the best on ground. That's what I hope, that they give it to the one that actually deserves it.
And the other name that comes up to me is Zach Williams, from the way he played against the way he played in the last game. So I believe he's going to be a good contender too.
Thank you, guys. Well, this is our last broadcast for the year, and for the record, I'm officially going to Richmond, so go Tigers. We thank our guest, NEMBC Executive Officer Russell Anderson, for being here tonight. That's all we have for you this time, but we will be back next March for the start of the 2020 AFL season. So until then, good night, and I hope your team wins on the weekend. You've been watching and listening to the Multicultural AFL Footy Show all around Australia on the Community Radio Network, Community TV, and Aurora TV Foxtel. We are also online through the NEMBC AFL Footy website. I am Vanessa Katika.
I'm Harbeer Singh.
I'm Gabriel D'Angelo.
And thank you for watching.
Let me hear you sing.